In today's video, I'll be discussing testimonies and insights related to the wonderful subject of thoroughly beating diabetes. Among other things, you'll be hearing of a woman who so reversed her diabetes and lost weight that her doctor had to know how she did it, and now she's counseling and encouraging her own doctor. Let's look at another comment. This person says, a year ago, I told my doctor about beat diabetes. I had my yearly exam. He now tells his diabetic patients to watch this channel. I think that's cool. I've heard a number of doctors and medical experts that recommend my channel. And, well, I just appreciate that. And we do. We have doctors that follow us. Not too many of them seem to have the courage to comment, but we've had some. And, To those who are just totally skeptical, you watch one or two of my videos, you think, is this guy on the level? Is this guy for real? Are these testimonies that he shares, are these people really telling the truth? Are they just lying? Well, the answer is they're telling the truth. And basically what I'm sharing for most of the time is what has worked for me. But a lot of times I'll bring somebody on, I'll interview them, and I'll say, okay, this has worked for them. Now, does that prove it'll work for you? No, but you can talk to your doctor and try out some of the recipes, try out some of the ways of eating and see how it works. And it just flat out works for a lot of people. That much I know. Anyway, we got a doctor that's recommending this channel. I think that's cool. Okay, this is a guy who says, it's been a while back since I talked to you last, but on April 10th, I had a full spectrum of blood work done. Results came back from Quest. 3 days later, everything was where it needed to be. Love to hear that. Blood pressure was perfect. My A1C was 5.6. Triglycerides were 64. Cholesterol, 125. 3 years ago, they could not read my glucose numbers. I was a very sick individual. I was put on insulin and 2,000 milligrams of metformin daily. That is a lot of medication. That's somebody who's got a serious issue. He says, I took immediate steps, went on a modified keto diet with supplements. I'm 67 years old, so we're not talking about a teenager or a guy in their 20s. Doctor asked a lot of questions how I accomplished it. The doctor saw, everything across the board. His cholesterol is even better. His triglycerides were amazing. His blood pressure was perfect. His glucose was good. Doctors saying, how did you do this? And that's good. I never forget a lady that commented and said her doctor came in, stood at the doorway, announced her A1C, which had gone drastically down, and then went on their way and didn't even comment, didn't say, that's great, you're doing well. How did you do it? Well, this person's doctor did ask a lot of questions. How did you do it? Which is, I'm not a doctor, but if I was, and I saw someone make incredible progress when most people don't, I'd want to know. I think I would ask, how did you do this? What did you do? And I think I'd take notes. He says, now I don't go back for a year. So you're doing pretty well when your doc says, you don't need to see me in 3 months. You don't need to see me in 6 months. Just come back in about a year. Wow, and double wow. And then this guy gives a little formula for fixing yourself according to how it worked for him. He says, stop the sugars. Well, of course. Processed carbs, yeah. Your body will heal up. It'll take a long time because you spent a lifetime putting the store-bought garbage into the machine. And then he has advice for me. He says, you just keep right on preaching the rules, never back down. Too many of us out here can testify the results of doing these steps, eating the right thing. Natural high fats, no and low carbs. Select carbs that are good for you. Don't abuse them. Well, again, this guy was an older man. He says he's 67, one of my own kind, one of my brothers in age. And he has found something that has just, made everything so much better. When you read these comments, you just read enthusiasm and excitement that just oozes out of their words. And it oozes out between the lines. It oozes out in the lines. These folks are excited. And health is a good thing to be excited about. It's not everything. You can be physically healthy and spiritually sick, and that's not good. It's better to be spiritually healthy. But why not both? Why not be spiritually healthy and physically healthy? And that can happen. So, we thank God for him. All right, this is from a lady. She says, I found out a year ago I'm a diabetic. I went instantly on a keto diet. That's cool. That wouldn't have happened 25 years ago. What would have happened 25 years ago is she would have gone to the doctor. The doctor would have told her, you've got to, eat a fairly high carb and a low fat diet. She would have believed him because nobody was saying anything different hardly. Atkins was, but he was about the only one. And so, I can't blame people 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago for eating those low-fat, high-carb and getting worse and worse. My mom was that way. And she was doing what, people normally would do in those days. There was almost no contradictory information out there. And everybody was saying the same thing. The dietitians, the doctors, all the experts, the magazine articles, they were all saying, carb load, eat plenty of carbs, follow the food pyramid, eat lots of bread, rice, and pasta, but whatever you do, don't eat much fat. So I can't blame my mom for doing that. She got worse and worse and ended up with 2 amputations and strokes and heart attacks and all kinds of problems and a miserable last 10, 12 years of her life. But I can't blame her. She was just doing according to the information they had then. But guess what? There's other information now, and there's information on both sides of that. There are still those who will tell you, eat plenty of carbs, but whatever you do, don't touch the fat. And then there are guys like me and lots of doctors on YouTube and throughout the world who write books that say, go low carb and high fat and moderate protein. So, you have to take your choice. Some people say, well, just do what the doctors say. The doctors themselves don't agree. Some doctors say this, some doctors say that. You're going to have to pick which doctors you want to follow. And your life is the prize. Your life is on the line. So let's hope you get it right. Anyway, she says, I went instantly on a keto diet. I followed your instructions, watching all the videos. That's cool. Watching all the videos. I lost weight. I changed 2 clothes sizes. Now my A1C is 5.2. Beautiful. 5.2 is just beautiful. My postprandial sugar, in other words, my post-meal peaks, glucose peaks, are never above 130. Folks, that is just amazing. This is a lady that was a diabetic. And now her glucose never gets above 130. She says, I'm so happy, it's not even hard. Love that. It's not even hard. Well, it's not really. Once you get in the flow of it, it takes a while to get in the flow and to learn some of the foods you can eat. So I'm not saying it's easy at the first, but once you get into that flow and you find some foods you can eat and you begin to see your blood sugar meter telling you you're doing good, Dennis, you're doing a lot better than you did. There's nothing like it. And it becomes relatively easy. So she says it's not even hard. She says, I love cooking. I often try new recipes. So she's a little more creative than I am. I don't try too many. I do some. She says, I've noticed this year I can increase the amount of berries and the blood sugar stays below 130. I love that. She says, I think because of the 16 8-hour rule, she eats in an 8-hour window. She says, my pancreas releases more insulin now. And probably she's less insulin resistant as well. She says, last year I couldn't eat more than 4 or 5 strawberries to prevent the red zone. This year I can eat a handful. So she can eat more berries now than she could before, and her blood sugar stays low. Well, I call that reversing diabetes, at least to a degree. She's reversed it to the point where she can eat more berries and have a few more carbs. She's wise enough not to go crazy and just start stuffing herself with carbs. If she did that, she'd negate all the progress she's made. But she can gradually increase some of her berries, and she does very, very well. She says, praise the Lord, I'm 64 years old, another person in their 60s. She says, I wear petite dress sizes now. Wow, that's wonderful. My lab results are so good. Listen to this. My lab results are so good. My doctor is impressed. I had to explain to her the keto diet. I love this. Now she's doing it too. So the lady has made a convert out of her own doctor. And listen to this. She says she's overweight, so I have to send her new recipes and encourage her. Can you imagine that? Normally a doctor should give the patient instructions. Now it is the opposite. I'm loving it. Well, you know something is working when your doctor's taking advice from you, because in many cases, not all, but in many cases, doctors are the hardest ones to change their minds about their approach to anything. But this doctor saw this lady has found something that works. The doctor herself was overweight. She started trying some of these things. Now the lady's giving her encouragement. She's sending her recipes. And she has become a doctor to her doctor, you might say. Well, how beautiful is that? Just so much hope. And by the way, the lady says, greetings from Germany. So she is a German woman. She's not an American. I'm an American, but I think it is just so beautiful how that this approach seems to work for people from every part of the world. I love it. The people from the Middle East and people from Britain and Germany and France and Israel and, all over the world are finding answers through this low-carb, relatively high-fat, somewhat high protein or medium protein or moderate protein approach. And the numbers are all lining up, and it just flat works. Let me just say it again. It just flat works for most of us. Now, maybe there are some that it won't. I don't know. But I know from the testimonies that are pouring in constantly, it works for a lot of people. I mean, it works for a lot of people. Not just the fact that your glucose comes down. Your blood pressure gets better. Your triglycerides come down. So many benefits. You feel better. You have more energy. And on we could go. So, my friend, I'd say, if you're a newly diagnosed diabetic, there's a pretty fair chance it'll work for you as well. So take hope, talk to your doctor, see what happens as you let Mike the blood sugar meter begin to dominate your diet, your mealtime, and you cut those carbs, you raise the healthy fats, and just watch what happens. All right, well, that's about it for now. Hope you enjoyed this. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to our channel and check if you've been unsubscribed. Sometimes YouTube does that for reasons only they know, so you might want to check and make sure you're still subscribed. But anyway, we hope you will so that you'll be notified when we post new videos. God bless. See you again soon.